Hello and good morning. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Snehisha, and with me is Shreyansi Singh, and you're watching ET Now. Well, this is a show where we'll take you through all the important stories that have been happening while you've been asleep globally and domestically, and we'll be telling you about everything big that's going to be happening in the market today and the stocks that you should be watching out for in today's trading session that could be potential buzzers as well as the ones that brokerages are flagging out for us bright and early this morning. So with that, let's kickstart the show with the global hand over there. And Shreyansi, good morning. Take us through what the global handover is looking like. I'm seeing some positive moves coming from the US.
Absolutely, and positive is an understatement when you look at the S&P 500 because the large cap benchmark reached a high of over 5,000 during Thursday's regular trading before closing less than 3 points below the key 5,000 threshold even. Now, when you look at the S&P 500, that crossed 4,000 on April 1st, 2021. So it took almost 3 years thereabout to add the last 1,000 points. And a solid earnings season, easing inflation data, and a resilient economy have powered the market rally into 2024, with the S&P 500 up 4.8% on the year. The equity benchmark is up about 0.8% this week, on track to post its fifth straight weekly gain. Same is the case with the Dow and the Nasdaq as well. The blue chip Dow and the Nasdaq composite have gained 0.2% and 1.1% this week respectively, also headed for a 5-week win streak. Now, LSEG data ascribes more meaning to the statement that it's been a strong earnings season because a total of 319 companies in the S&P 500 have reported quarterly earnings so far, and 80.6% of them have reported above analyst expectations. Now, that compares to a 67% typical beat rate in a typical quarter since 1994. So that's some solid move coming in. Now, when you look at the European markets, the Pan-European Stoxx 600 provisionally closed lower after maintaining cautious gains through most of the session, and sectors were divided, with household goods up 1.9%, autos up 1.5%, and healthcare stocks that fell about 1.9% thereabout. So that's the move coming in from the US as well as the European markets this morning.
Well, absolutely, and we've also got the head of state of the US, President Joe Biden. He's been addressing the White House currently as we speak, so we'll bring you more from that as well. But with that, let's shift focus and talk about crude, because crude oil future prices rose for the 4th day in a row on Thursday after the US killed a militant commander in Iraq and Israel rejected a ceasefire proposal by Hamas. Now, let's take a look at what the crude levels are doing as we speak. And you've got WTI. WTI is in the green at 76.3 as we speak, and Brent crude well above that $80 per barrel mark. It's at 81.6 as we speak right now. Now, US crude and the global benchmark are up almost 3.25 and 3.72% respectively for the week as the Middle East teeters between another round of violent escalation and a possible truce in the Gaza war as well. Now, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on a diplomatic tour of the region this week in an effort to secure an extended humanitarian pause in Gaza in exchange for the release of hostages by Hamas. Now, Blinken met Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday to discuss a counter-proposal by Hamas that demands a permanent end to the fighting. Remember, Netanyahu rejected Hamas's proposal, vowing to press on to the southern city of Rafah on the border with Egypt and achieve total victory in Gaza. Now, a Hamas delegation is in Egypt to continue these ceasefire talks, so we'll see how these geopolitical developments pan out. But prices also found support this week after the US Energy Department forecast said that the domestic crude production would grow slower than originally expected this year, easing worries among traders that the global market is oversupplied. Supply is seen to go down, demand continues to be as high as ever, pushing prices slightly up when you put it in common economics terms. So, well, Shreyansi, this is all that's happening in the world of oil as well. Take us through all the important events that we need to be watching out for.
Absolutely, and it's a very long list this morning, Snehi. When you look at the earnings calendar, you've got Hero MotoCorp reporting their numbers, and it's the last day to buy to be eligible for special dividend eligibility for a couple of counters. So you've got P&G as well as Triveni Engineering on that list, and it's the last day to buy to be eligible for dividend for a host of counters: Aptus Value, BEL, Green Panel Industries, KPIT Tech, P&G, Rites, Sun Pharma, TCI, Triveni Engineering. So all of those counters will remain in focus, and in the primary market action, you have 3 IPOs that are closing. So there's Rashi Peripherals, Jana Small Finance Bank, as well as Capital Small Finance Bank. So keep an eye on all of those IPOs that are closing. And in terms of, that's not all the action on the primary market front, because you do have Entero Healthcare. That IPO is opening today. So keep an eye on that particular IPO, and the lock-in period is also ending for Zaggle Prepaid Ocean Services. And in terms of other events, you do have the Lunar New Year's Eve, as well as Biden hosting the German Chancellor, as well as Chhattisgarh Assembly. There, the budget is going to be tabled. So all of those other events will also remain in focus.
Well, absolutely, and with that, let's also take a look at all the important global stories that we've been tracking for you bright and early this morning. And let's start by taking a look at what's happening with US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, because she presented the Financial Stability Oversight Council's annual report to the Senate Banking Committee. Talking about outlook for the US economy, she said that she does not expect consumer prices to go down. Listen into what she had to say.
Our debt is highly valued, is the soundest and most liquid asset, not only for Americans, but around the world. But of course, we need to stay on a fiscally sustainable path. High prices were not caused by Bidenomics. We suffered a pandemic that resulted in severe dislocations.
Yes, ma'am, but if I could ask you, they're here to stay, aren't they?
I don't expect the level of prices to go down, but the rate of inflation...
So they're here to stay.
Well, some prices will be higher than they were before the pandemic.
Well, that's a word coming in from Janet Yellen. But a week after the monetary policy outcome, Richmond Fed President Thomas Birkin and Federal Reserve Bank of Boston President Susan Collins are seen to support Fed's pivot on inflation and rate cuts. As Birkin said that it would be smart for the central bank to take time on rate cuts, despite remarkable data showing that inflation is dropping. Meanwhile, Collins believes that the central bank will be able to cut rates at some point, as more evidence on inflation downturn is necessary.
All right then, and let's shift focus to some global macros then, because China's consumer prices suffered their steepest fall in more than 14 years, while the producer prices declined for a 16th month in January. CPI fell almost 0.8%, while producer price index fell 2.5% on an annual basis. Now remember, China has been struggling to regain economic momentum since the end of COVID curbs in late 2022.
And Google is rebranding its AI chatbot Bard as Gemini, and along with the introduction of a paid tier and expansion to mobile devices. The move comes as Google's parent Alphabet positions Gemini as the main brand for all its existing and future AI efforts, similar to Microsoft's approach with its Copilot brand.
Alright, those were all the important global stories that we've been tracking for you this morning. With that, we'll take a short break on this edition of Market Cafe. We'll come back with how the Asian markets have opened up this morning, so stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's take a look at the Asian markets then, and this is going to be quick because most Asian markets are partially or fully closed today as the region enters the Lunar New Year holiday period. So when you look at the Asian markets, you've got China, South Korea and Taiwan's markets that will be shut, while Singapore and Hong Kong will see a half day of trade coming in. So when you look at ASX 200, that started the day marginally lower, but is now in the green, up about 0.2% thereabout. And when you look at Nikkei as well, that breached the 37,000 mark for the first time in 34 years. So you have strong moves coming in still, up about 0.6% thereabout. So that was a key level that was breached for Nikkei. And when you look at the Nifty implied as well, we're looking at a muted open for today. Now remember, we closed around that 21,717 mark yesterday. FMCG, finance, auto over the top laggards. And on your screen there you have it. Looking at a muted open this morning. So that's what Nifty implied is indicating as of now, but let's see how it pans out for us.
Well, absolutely. And well, here's a programming note for you. And get ready for a power pack lineup at the 8th Global Business Summit from Feb 9 to 10. More than 2,000 delegates representing diverse industries and sectors from across 20 countries set to attend the biggest business conclave in the national capital. And that's not all. Prime Minister Modi prepares to set a vision for a Viksit Bharat. Disruption, development and diversification at the center of it all. Don't forget to catch an all-round coverage only on ET Now.
Well, Snehi, that's quite the lineup coming in. But with that, let's also slip into news for the
Much for staying tuned to Market Cafe. You're still watching ET Now. Now, the Cabinet has approved the spectrum auction and reserve spectrum for safety of railway, RRTS and metro passengers. Sumit Chaturvedi joins in with more details on just this. Sumit, take it away.
Definitely, it's a good news for the telecom sector of the country. Spectrum auction, well, that has been approved by Cabinet first time after 2022 it is happening. So it's going to be in different bands. Indexation as per as TRAI's recommendation will be there, and it's going to garner government over 97,000 crore rupees. That's what important point here is. Approval for its 10523 mega spectrum auction this fiscal, and it's overall going to have a reserve price of around 96,000 crore rupees. Last time it happened 2022. So telecom companies will need to auction for this. They are available in different bands. If I can tell you about the bands, available spectrum is in 800, 900, 1800, 2100, 2300, and 2500 and 26 gigahertz band to be put up for auction. So good news for telecom sector, which is going to participate, and the consumer also that can get further clarity about their operations or telecom services. That's one of the big, we can say that decisions announced. But apart from that, overall, there's approval for central sector sub-scheme of Pradhan Mantri Matsya Kisan Samriddhi Yojana. Overall, 6 multi-tracking railway projects also with an outlay of 12,000 crore rupees have been approved.
Well, thanks, Sumit, for that roundup. But let's also listen into what Information and Broadcasting Minister Anurag Thakur had to say in the cabinet briefing on the spectrum auction.
ये ऑक्शन सर्विस एरिया वाइज किए जाएंगे। रिजर्व प्राइस ट्राई द्वारा अनुशंसित इंडेक्सिंग फॉर्मूला के आधार पर निर्धारित किया जाएगा। टेलीकॉम सर्विसेज में कोई डिसरप्शन ना हो, इसके लिए इंटरिम पीरियड में एग्जिस्टिंग टेलीकॉम सर्विस प्रोवाइडर द्वारा ऑक्शन डिटरमाइंड प्राइस के भुगतान पर स्पेक्ट्रम का यूज जारी रखा जा सकेगा। स्पेक्ट्रम का एफिशिएंट उपयोग हो सके, इसके लिए प्रस्तावित है कि अर्बन एवं रीजनल रेल बेस्ड ट्रांजिट सिस्टम को असाइन किए गए स्पेक्ट्रम को इन रेलवे सिस्टम्स के कार्यक्षेत्र के बाहर में टीएसपी या गवर्नमेंट को एजेंसीज को अलॉट किया जाए, लेकिन ये सुनिश्चित किया जाएगा कि इससे पैसेंजर सेफ्टी को किसी तरह का कोई प्रभाव ना पड़े, ना प्रभावित हो। ऑक्शन हेतु प्रस्तावित स्पेक्ट्रम का कुल रिजर्व प्राइस 96,317.65 करोड़ रुपया होगा।
All right, let's move on from then. And the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs approved 6 railway projects with a total estimated cost of 12,343 crore rupees to be fully funded by the Union Government. The multi-track proposals will ease operations and reduce congestion, providing much-needed infrastructural development on the busiest sections across the Indian Railways. The projects cover 18 districts in 6 states and will increase the existing network of Indian Railways by 1,020 kilometers.
Right, moving on from that then, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman tabled the government's white paper on the Indian economy in the Lok Sabha. It highlighted the NDA government's successes in handling the Indian economy in its tenure and also listed some charges of economic mismanagement in the 10 years that the UPA government was in power. In fact, let's also listen into what the Finance Minister had to say in the Parliament.
We laid table. Honorable Finance Minister.
Sir, I rise to lay a white paper on the Indian economy, both in Hindi and English versions.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well, all right. My colleague Sumit Chaturvedi is also joining in with more details on what this white paper is all about. Sumit, explain this to us, please.
It was announced for the first time in interim budget this year, and now almost a week after that announcement, Finance Minister Sitharaman has presented the white paper on economy today in Parliament. It talks about how economy fared from 2004 to 14, which was UPA regime, versus 2014 to 24, 10 years of NDA regime. It broadly covers three sectors: macroeconomy, scams, and how the economy has been turned around. On the macroeconomy side, clearly NDA is accusing UPA of big mismanagement, right from banking crisis, banking issues, to capital expenditure issues, fiscal deficit, and inflation. All that was, NDA says that it had actually worsened during UPA regime from 2004 to 14, though they had taken a stable economy from NDA way back in 2004. They talk about how the economy has been turned around, how the focus and priority is Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, putting a massive focus on infrastructure regime as well. Talking about banking crisis, they have pointed out how UPA failed. During the UPA regime, there was a Lehman Bank crisis, but instead of properly addressing it, the remedy was worse than expected. They talk about that. They also compare how COVID crisis was handled in a much better way. During UPA regime, Indian economy had come to fragile 5. There were problems, but during NDA regime, it's aiming to be world's third largest economy. So from agriculture to a fiscal deficit to inflation, which was stable, as NDA claimed is stable now, was actually in double digits during UP regime. So it covers broadly all sectors on which the comparison of economy has been done, from forex to defense to all levels, and showing that how NDA's economy has been far better than UPA's handling of economy from 2004 to 14, the first and second regime of UPA.
Well, thanks, Sumit. Looks like it's a busy morning for you, but thank you for that roundup. And let's also listen in to what Rajiv Kumar, former VC at Niti Aayog, had to say about the paper wars and about how he sees this impacting the upcoming elections. Listen in.
The white paper, I think, quite gracefully accepts the fact that some of the schemes that were started during the UPA government, like the Aadhaar card, or like the work done for the GST, or even the work done for the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, were actually taken forward in a very much more dynamic manner by the present government, which made use of those things to improve the welfare levels of the people, and to get the direct benefit transfers, to all those who are, underprivileged and at the bottom of the pyramid. So, this government has not been afraid to say that, yes, we have built upon what the others left in areas where they were good at, but at the same time, they have taken some exceptionally strong steps, in digital public infrastructure, in the physical infrastructure, in the construction speed of the highways, that you can see in making all those schemes directed towards the lowest segments of echelons of our population.
All right, let's move on from that to some stock-specific news then. And just a few days after extending the LNG supply demand with Qatar Energy for another 20 years, Petronet LNG top boss Akshay Singh says that the deal was crucial for the company. He also spoke on the details of the deal and the plan for the Kochi terminal as well. So listen in to what he had to say.
We had signed a 25-year deal with RAS Gas in 1999, and the supply started in 2004, and the present contract is going to expire in April 2028. In the present contract, there was a provision that if the both party is willing, they can extend this existing contract for further period, whatever they decide, 5 years prior to the expiry period.
Other than that, are you in discussion with some other company in order to secure some more deals to meet your growing demand?
Going forward, we will be looking for even some volume for marketing purpose also. So, in the future, coming future, because we are going to set up a 4 mm TPA FSRU-based terminal in east coast of India at Gopal.
All right, that was the exclusive word coming in from Petronet. But with this, we're out of time on this segment. See you on the other side. Keep on your radar this morning, and Ashesha is standing by with that list. Ashesha, take it away.
Well, yes, first up, let's talk about United Breweries. Company has reported weak set of numbers. Margins have contracted on a sequential basis. Management commentary too is very weak. They say that inflationary pressure on raw materials has come down a tad bit on a sequential basis, but volatility is continued to persist from here on. So all in all, United Breweries numbers are weak. Management commentary is also muted, and hence the stock will be in focus today. Meanwhile, two counters that were in focus yesterday on account of major block deals that took place: Kalyan Jewellers and Mankind Pharma. So let's talk about the buyers and sellers of both these candidates. First up, Kalyan Jewellers, where Warburg Pincus sold about 6.7% stake in the company via block deals yesterday for about 2,300 crores. And Motilal Oswal Mutual Fund, Nomura, Goldman Sachs are some of the buyers which have entered into this counter. So keep an eye out on this one as well. Meanwhile, Mankind Pharma promoters sold about 1.58% stake in the company for about 1,366 crores. Government of Singapore and Abu Dhabi Investment Authority are some of the buyers, so keep an eye out on Mankind Pharma as well. BHEL meanwhile is in focus on the back of order wins, where the company has won orders worth about 5,500 crores from Haryana Power Generation. So big order that has come through, and hence BHEL will also be in focus. Lastly, let's talk about Biocon. This candidate in focus yet again on the back of its results, where revenues are up a solid 34% on a year-on-year basis. EBITDA too has expanded 75%. Margins have come in at a solid 23.4% versus 15% that the company had reported same time last year. So 800 basis point margin expansion is what the company has reported. As far as the internals are concerned, continuing pricing pressure impacted consumer offtake in their API business, but they say steady market share in biosimilars in both US and UK is what aided numbers this time around. So all in all, strong set of numbers. Keep an eye out on Biocon as well. Alright, Rajesha, thanks so much. We'll be watching out for all of those stocks in today's trading session. But another stock that will be in focus is LIC on the back of its quarter 3 numbers. Now, VNB margins have seen an expansion of 473 bips. LIC has also announced an interim dividend of 4 rupees per share. My colleague Gaurav is here with more details and the breakdown of these numbers. Good morning, Gaurav. Break down these numbers for us.
Yes. So when we talk about LIC's results, we have seen PAT growth of 44% on a YOY basis. So strong set of numbers came up from LIC. And when we talk about operational front, the VNB margins are now at 22%. They grew by 22% on a quarter-on-quarter basis. We also saw VNB margin expansion by 473 basis point, and now the margins are stands at 20% now. Now these higher margins are also going to sustain because we have already also seen the mix in the product, because we have now non-par and annuity based businesses contributing more to the VNB margins now. When we talk about non-par business, now it constitutes, if we look at the 9-month FY24 number, now it constitutes 14% of the business versus what it was at 7% in FY22. Let's also look at some of the operational metrics. OPEX ratio has increased a little to 10% in Q3 FY24, but because the commission ratio was down to 5.6% versus what it was at 7.4%, we have seen some positivity coming up from the investors. Persistency ratio has also remained stable. The 13-month persistency ratio is now at 78%. Solvency margins have also remained stable at 193%. And lastly, company also announced dividend of 4 rupees for the investors. So all in all, we have already seen a bullish view coming up for LIC. We have seen the stock has given returns of almost 18% in the last 5 days, and yesterday also it was up almost by 6.5%. So let's see how investors treat these numbers in today's trade and how LIC performs in today's market.
Absolutely, Gaurav. So that's about LIC. But Zomato will also remain in focus on account of those strong Q3 numbers coming in. Profits skyrocketed quarter on quarter. Winnie standing by with a fine print of the numbers. Winnie?
So absolutely, in terms of Zomato, it was a good set of numbers that came in from the company, better than expected in terms of the profitability growth, adjusted EBITDA growth. That has been above what the street was expecting. Revenues in line with expectations as well. Even the guidance for quick commerce. They maintained that guidance as well. Next couple of quarters, they're expecting revenue growth to go in that range of 50+% on a consolidated basis. Previously, it was 40%, yes, but they still maintain that 40%. But next couple of quarters, maybe we could see a bit of higher growth. Now, on the back of that, Nomura has upgraded the stock to a buy from a previous reduced, hiked the target price to 180 rupees per share from 75 rupees per share. They said that the company is growing consistently with margin expansion. Food delivery business has continued to see strong growth, and quick commerce also has seen a strong growth with profitability in sight, and that's what they are tracking in terms of the food delivery business as well. And quick commerce, they believe, is going to be a big value creator for the company. Other than that, Jefferies too has maintained a buy, hiked the target price to 205 from previous 190 rupees, and they said Q3 was quite strong, exceptional performance from quick commerce, similar strong trends from food delivery as well. And overall, they believe that, other than that, they believe rapid progress that Zomato has made in very short span of time is something that they believe could continue going forward as well. So that is why Zomato is a stock that is surely in focus.
Well, absolutely, Winnie. We'll be watching out for Zomato today. But, well, let's talk about another company that's all set to declare its numbers today, and that's Hero MotoCorp. And, well, revenue and profit uptick is on the cards, while volumes could be helped by a healthy recovery in domestic market. Shrishti is joining in with more details on what the street is penciling in for this auto major. Shrishti, take it away.
So a decent set is expected by Hero MotoCorp this time around, because on a sequential basis, we are not expecting much of a change on the frontline numbers. If we talk about the margin specifically, that's expected to be just flat at 14%. If when we talk about the revenue, a marginal uptick of 3% is what we are expecting. 9,690 crores is our estimate on that front. EBITDA is expected at 1,355 crores. Margins, like I told you, expected at 14%. And lastly, onto the profit figure, almost flattish sort of a growth over there as well. 1,050 crores is our expectation, because on the volume front as well, if you will see, then the volumes have actually seen a jump of just 3% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, obviously led by the domestic sales in job. Other than that, the factors that were at play is that the domestic volume really helped the numbers this time around. The discounts were quite high in the festive season. On the back of that, the realizations are expected to be in check. Just a marginal 2% uptick on a YOY basis is what we are expecting. Other than that, some of the other factors that could keep the margins in check will be the higher RM cost, but that is expected to offset by the lower expenses on some of the cost cut initiatives that is being taken by the company in the past. So all of these factors are expected to come in play, but if at all, if there is a surprise coming in on the margin front, then that could really be a booster for Hero MotoCorp this time around. So margin is the key number to track. But other than that, in the management commentary, we'll definitely watch out for the demand outlook, as well as their product launch timelines as well is something that we'll be tracking.
Well, thanks, Srishti, for that roundup. We'll keep an eye for Hero MotoCorp's numbers. But on to other news and updates then. A day after tabling the white paper, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman is all set to address the Parliament today. Congress, meanwhile, has hit out at the centre and said that it's BJP's another attempt to mislead citizens. And in a shocking incident, Uddhav Sena leader Abhishek Ghosalkar was shot dead during a Facebook Live in Mumbai. The incident comes days after a BJP MLA was caught on camera firing at an Eknath Shinde faction leader inside a police station. Uddhav Sena MP Sanjay Raut hit out at the Shinde government and linked the accused to the Shinde faction. And communal tension has gripped the Haldwani area of Nainital district, and shoot-at-sight orders have been issued after miscreants attacked a police team during an encroachment drive. So far, over 60 people have been injured, internet has been suspended, and schools are shut today.
Well, keeping it with the news and updates, former Supreme Court Judge Justice A.M. Khanvilkar is likely to be appointed as the next Lokpal of India today. Justice Khanvilkar had given the clean sheet to PM Modi in the 2002 Gujarat riots and had also dismissed Teesta Setalwad's plea. And counting of votes is underway in Pakistan to elect the next government. Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz candidate Shehbaz Sharif and Maryam Nawaz have won, while independents backed by Imran's party are leading in 154 seats. Alright, with that, we are completely timed out on this edition of Market Cafe. But while we bid you goodbye, you stay tuned in the channel because the market takes all the action ahead.
घर रेंट पे देना है और ये अब तक ब्रोकर के पीछे पड़ा हुआ है और मैंने नो ब्रोकर